Thank you, Senator Armstrong. And it was going to be one of the questions that I had for you, Chairman, was how do you reconcile the different figures? You stated the pipeline has to be capable of delivering 6,836 acre-feet for the nation, and yet the drinking water demand identified in the testimony is 4,610 acre-feet, and the U.S. adjudication claim was 4,900. So we're looking at those numbers and saying, all right, well, where's the discrepancy here? And perhaps it has to do with conveyance losses or peak demand or water that's not consumptively used. But understanding all that, I think, would be helpful for us as we work through this with you and with the department there. Interior also suggests that existing on-reservation water resources may satisfy much of the nation's future demand. And your testimony goes a different direction. You speak to the fact that the aquifer is declining in both quantity and quality, a couple of the wells failing to meet current demand, and that one municipal well has to be significantly deepened. So in your view, is continued reliance on groundwater just not a sustainable option for the nation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is not a sustainable option. If we were to just look at it from the perspective of in perpetuity of us being on this reservation, water resources are declining across the Southwest. My fellow colleagues next to me are in the same situation. We're in a critical status of we're not going to leave the land that that are now our homelands. And to have this critical resource that we need in order for us to survive, in order for us to flourish along with our community, surrounding communities, it is really critically important to address this. Now, all this new information has just come about within the last 2 months. I think the drought has significantly impacted every community across the Southwest, but we're feeling it today. And I've acknowledged this, and I've had communications with our surrounding communities, and I understand the urgency that we have right now. It's going to be a critical point where we're going to have to import water at some point, and this is a reality. And I think it's a reality for all of communities across the Southwest about how to better our water situation and water resources.
Yeah, and you mentioned the importation of additional water, helps to reduce groundwater pumping. We understand all that, but how much you're actually able to do there and how that balances out. I want to turn to you, Chairman Gruby. I've had an opportunity to be out there and meet with some folks from the Agua Caliente tribe. I have seen the map, the big checkerboard map that is this pattern of tribal trust and non-Indian fee lands. And because of that, you've got an unusual system of tribal fees, district collection mechanisms, and replacement taxation in the settlement. Interior calls some of these provisions a little bit novel. I don't know whether novel means it's good, bad, or indifferent, but are these provisions meant to be tailored to the circumstances that are perhaps unique there in the Coachella Valley, or are they intended to establish a broader precedent concerning Indian and tribal taxing and regulatory authority over non-Indians? I guess how did these provisions come to be included in this water settlement bill?
No, thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that question, and it's an important question, especially dealing with the uniqueness of Agua Caliente. It is a little checkerboard that spans over 3 different cities. So going through this settlement, working with the water agencies, this was a means. As a sovereign nation, we have a right to run our own government, and one of the primary functions of a government is to collect taxes for the betterment of the community. And when I say community, it's not just the benefit of my tribe and our members, but it's a community that the reservation spans across the 3 cities. So this wasn't a way to increase revenues for the tribe, but it was a way to collect the revenues that the county was already collecting, but the tribe now collects, and we decide where it goes in our community for the cities. So Riverside County is a very large county, and those monies that were collected went through other areas of the county that weren't an exact benefit to those in the Coachella Valley. So this was an opportunity for us to collect that money and really, spend it for the betterment of the Coachella Valley.
But you see this more as somewhat specific to what you are doing there in Coachella, rather than broader precedent in other areas.
I think I don't think every tribe has that ability or may have that ability to do what we are doing, but that doesn't mean that I'm trying to take away. Every tribe has their sovereign right. They're each they're separate to do things. So if it makes sense, I hope this is this is important, and it may be a popular precedent that we're setting to help other tribal communities.
So let me ask, before my time expires here, under the bill, you're transferring about 2,742 acres of BLM managed land into trust for the Agua Caliente band. And you've included this transfer in the water rights settlement, although the bill provides that water rights associated with the transferred lands are not added to the tribe's quantified settlement water rights. So why does the tribe need these particular BLM lands transferred into trust, and why is the land transfer an important part of the water rights settlement?
Yeah, no, that's another good question, and I think it's more of a formality. The water districts, to my understanding, were having to go back and get permissions or whatever it was. They had to keep going back and asking. So by doing this was part of the settlement that they wouldn't have to do that any longer.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Senator Hoeven.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For Secretary Cameron, Dakota Water Resources Act is very important in our state, and it's a win-win both for the federal government and North Dakota. And we want to know that you continue to support not only the Dakota Water Resources Act, but also the NDAWS amendment. We got a start on it this year, $158 million, and also the use of the McCluskey Canal, which frankly saves, that's why I say it's a win-win. That saves not only the state of North Dakota $200 million, it saves the federal government $200 million, because it's already constructed and it's in great condition. And that's, an expanse where we don't have to put pipeline in the ground. So it saves easily $200 million and operating costs as well. So it really is a win-win project. And the Energy and Natural Resources Committee last month unanimously approved the Dakota Water Resources Act, which is supported by all 5 tribes, or more tribes than that, but the tribes that represent the 5 reservations in our state. So my question is, will you continue to work with us, not only our state, but also our tribes, to pass this critical legislation?
Yes, Senator, be very happy to do so, and congratulations on getting it reported out of committee unanimously. So look forward to working with you on that.
Good. Does that include you coming out to our great state to actually see the work that we're doing and what remains to be done?
The Secretary looks for every opportunity to send his political leadership out to the great state of North Dakota and Alaska.
Good. Yeah, he can help you with navigational aids if you need it. He knows the way, but we'd like to bring you out there this summer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind offer and look forward to taking advantage of it one of these days.
Good. In 1960, we hope one of these days, like soon. Yeah. I'm getting older. I'm not young like the chairman anymore. I'm older.
I'm getting older too.
That means sooner versus later. Okay. 1960, Standing Rock Sioux Tribe was relocated when their lands were flooded by the Army Corps for the Oahe Reservoir on the Missouri River. In 1985, the Secretary of the Interior appointed a Garrison Unit Joint Tribal Advisory Committee, JTAC, to recommend equitable compensation. Congress authorized $90 million in compensation for Standing Rock, under the three affiliated tribes and Standing Rock Sioux Tribe Equitable Compensation Act of 1992. The committee report accompanying the 92 bill acknowledged that additional compensation would be necessary to address the tribe's infrastructure needs. 2007, the Government Accountability Office confirmed this, testifying the tribe's additional compensation should have been up to $170 million. The tribe is currently looking at how additional compensation funds can be used to fund current needs, like an updated health care facility in Fort Yates. Pause for a minute so you can digest all of that, and I know you were listening intently, so you have. Here's my question. Will the department work with us and the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe to determine if additional funds will be made available to help the tribe address its current community needs, and that is a hospital?
Yes, sir, most definitely. We're eagerly looking forward to figuring out how this can work out with you.
Yeah, it really is. The tribe is very committed to this. And I think, we've done a lot of work in rural North Dakota, actually with the rural development, on updating and building new community critical access hospitals. Okay? That's off reservation. We need to do something on reservation. This is a big area. This reservation covers a big area in North Dakota, but also a big area in South Dakota. So it's both states. So you're helping us figure something out here would be really good. That'd be another visit we could make when you come this summer.
I'll start making my plane reservations now, sir.
Okay.
And to Alaska.
Thank you in the winter, too.
Well, it's on the way. It's kind of on the way to Alaska. Right?
It is.
Yeah, we're perfect. And
if you're driving.
And of course you'll have to work in North Dakota. But I know that the chairman will take you fishing up in Alaska. So that's incentive for you. But we might let you fish the Missouri River. They're really good fishing on the Missouri River, too.
I've been advised by people who are well informed that you're absolutely correct, sir. Yeah.
It is. It's fabulous. I live on the river. It's fabulous. Now, we can catch some salmon, but the one that we catch a lot of and kind of are famous for is walleye. And no halibut. No, we catch many different kind of fish, but we haven't caught any halibut so far.
I'll put my salmon up against your walleye.
Yeah. That'd be a tasty contest, a very tasty contest.
I'm going to be neutral on this debate, if you don't mind.
You can't go wrong. They're both great. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hoeven. I want to throw a question out to you, Councilwoman Chacon. You spoke to the two changes to the 2016 water settlement agreement and why we now have this legislation in front of us. So you're seeking to expand the statutory definition and broaden the uses. Okay. What were the implementation problems under the 2016 settlement that has now precipitated the need? What didn't work? I get the fact that we're making these two changes, but what happened with the settlement? Because I think we thought that we got it right then, but now we know we need to make improvements. What happened with the implementation?
Thank you, Chairman Murkowski, for the question. Yes. So first, in 2016, when our water settlement was enacted, Pechanga's gone through some land and trust areas. So we can't get our groundwater to those areas. We purchase contiguous lands to our reservation for critical tribal housing. Well, we came into a snag because we can't get water there. So we would like to use our groundwater to go there to provide for that tribal housing. That was the first issue. The second issue is when we were originally negotiating our water settlement, our main concern, ours, Pechanga's and the Rancho California Water District, salinity was our main worry. Well, now, as you know, PFAS is an issue created all throughout United States right now. So we want to make sure that, and also let me just reiterate that this technical amendment does not require alternative or more appropriations. It simply broadens the water quality uses that we can use this pot of money for. So it just needs to expand because we don't know what's going to happen in the future and what new contaminants. 10 years ago, nobody knew anything about PFAS.
Okay. That helps. Thank you for that
Thank you.
clarification. Back to you, Mr. Cameron, and this will relate to 4368 with the Agua Caliente ban. So this legislation would preempt Riverside County's possessory interest tax when the tribe imposes its own tax. It wouldn't use a lower rate or assessed value. The tribe is required to distribute equivalent resources. Again, the Interior has described this as a novel provision involving preemption of state and local tax law. Have we seen this tax replacement structure in any previous Indian water settlements that you're aware of?
Not to my knowledge, Madam Chairman. So that really is unique, and I think it merits some discussion and some attention, probably with a whole bunch of lawyers in a room to figure out if there are, some significant presidential issues.
Is there a concern that you could establish precedent for respective taxing authority for tribes and states and county on reservation lands? I mean, is this what we're concerned about? Is this?
Yes, exactly. That is the precedent that I think we need to think through about whether or not we're creating a long-term issue, long-term expectation, long-term potential problem.
So do you think you need additional provisions that govern assessments, the collections, the audits, the like, as you're looking at the payments that go to schools and other public service entities?
What we'd like to do is sit down and talk with the tribe, talk with the affected local governments, and make sure we fully understand what's being contemplated here and thoroughly think through what the implications might be, especially in terms of precedent.
Yeah. When I think the chairman has indicated that it's not the intention that this would be broader than beyond the Coachella Valley, but I think to your point about how the parties are sitting down and discussing this, along with the many lawyers in the room that are looking at the specific wording of all of the proposal, is important as well.
Yeah, I appreciate the chairman's attitude, but just because he is not intending to create a precedent, that doesn't mean somebody else somewhere else will think there's a precedent. So we need to be careful.
Yep. The bill also provides $500 million in mandatory federal funding, $300 million for water development, $100 million for groundwater augmentation, $50 million for water management, $50 million for O&M. These would be indexed for cost changes and market volatility. You have expressed, or Interior has expressed, concern about the size of the federal contribution, but doesn't explain your own valuation of the settlement. Can you give me more about the concerns that you have here?
A couple of points. Madam Chairman, the first is, again, as a general principle, we prefer using discretionary appropriations as opposed to mandatory funding, so that's one issue. One specific item that caught our attention was the $50 million for tribal water rights administration. Our understanding is that the tribe already has a pretty sophisticated and pretty effective mechanism for tribal water rights administration, so we're wondering why there need to be another $50 million. And then there's the broader question of, is $500 million the right number? There seems to be a tendency of a number of water rights settlement legislation that we've seen in the last year or so to come in at a $500 million price tag, and I'd like to have a bit more of a generated from the ground up number, as opposed to sometimes wondering if a number is picked perhaps without too much of an analytical basis for it. So we'd like to explore an analytical basis for this number.
Fair enough. It goes back to the original comments from Senator Schatz here about just getting greater fidelity to numbers. And given the size and the consequence of these settlements that we're talking about, that seems to make good sense, but it also requires good communication going back and forth, which is part of why we're putting this all out on the record here today. We sometimes talk here in Congress about Indian water settlements only in the terms of acre feet and project costs and legal waivers and the like. But I'd throw this out to you, Chairman Rocha and Chairman Gruby, in terms of what these water settlements actually mean in practical terms for a family, a Yavapai-Apache family or an Agua Caliente family, and the ability to live in the area where your families have lived. So we've talked about numbers, and maybe you can just, and also Councilwoman, if you just want to just quickly share for the committee what it means to family to have these settlements completed. Chairman?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the question, which is really why we're here. We're here to talk about the practical sense of what water represents to the people and what it means to our families. When we have that water resource, it means generations that will be able to sustain practical, traditional, cultural ceremonies within these locations. And I talk about the Verde River and how critical that is to our ceremonial practices, and how when we sweat and how our passing these traditions on to our children and for additional generations. What does it mean to have these families come back home and be able to have a water resource for them so we can continue to build homes for them? That is all important for generations to come. The other aspect of this, not just speaking specifically to families, but also presents an opportunity for economic development. It provides an opportunity for us to exercise our sovereignty, to really know where the meaning of sovereignty lies. It's in the resources that we have, and it's the resources that we're able to apply to our systems. And that's why it's so critical that this water is important not only to our people, but also to the community, and eventually through economic development, that we can also help support the surrounding communities as well. And that's the most important piece, is that it's just not looking at it from the lens that this is our to benefit the tribal members as well, but it's when you look at it from the economic lens and looking at how it can benefit overall the entire area, this really speaks volumes to what this overall water rights, and asking for Congress to consider. And so what it means, though, also to, as you had asked for about what this means to the families, it's just so critically important for those generations. And I hope that my great grandchildren will be able to live on our reservation. And as of right now, only about 55% of our tribe is only able to live on our reservation due to the resources that we have capable for expanding our reservation boundaries for homes. That's once we have those resources, we can continue to expand our reservation and complement that with them coming home.
Thank you. Chairman Gruby.
No, thank you. And I know that's a good question, Madam Chairwoman. For Agua Caliente, we've been ratepayers. We've never been given a seat at the table to govern one of the most precious resources in the valley, the water. We look at things from the past, present, and future. No disrespect to the water agencies, but they're in the now and they prepare for the next 5 to 10 years. Well, being able to have a seat at the table and govern what happens for the next 10, 20, 100 years is what my tribe wants to do. We want to have the ability to make sure that the aquifer is being replenished, that the water is safe coming out. We want to look at ways to help the water agencies retain the stormwater issues. There's ways to capture it, recycling water waste to put back into the aquifer. We're looking at ways to replenish. Our water settlement is unique in a way that we have 3 cities, the state, and the county, all supportive of our settlement. No opposition. The PIT issue, we've worked with the county. They understand what they're doing. They understand what their tribe's going to do with it. There's an agreement there. And I look forward to working with the administration and working out those issues. The $500 million, it wasn't just picked out of nowhere. We have 2 water agencies that helped us come to that number. We worked with the administration to come to that number. We've paid consultants to help us get to that number. So we can justify, where the $500 million came from. So for us as a tribe, it's really to making sure that we have a future for our children, grandchildren, and so forth, for the betterment. And we understand that it's not for our betterment directly, it's for the Coachella Valley. We're 500 members that live in a community of tens of thousands of people. So we know that the decisions we make today, that benefit us will benefit the communities we live in. You look at our history, look at what we've done since gaming. We've looked outwardly, charitable. We're very charitable. Look at all the tribes, the successes that they had. It's not just about them supporting them. It's about giving back to the community, giving back to police, fire, school districts, etc. It's about having a seat at the table.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, you get the final word.
Thank you very much. Chairman, our ancestral lands have been minimized over the years. We are not a huge land-based tribe, and that's why we try to purchase any contiguous land that we can on our reservation. Our people want to come home. Water is life to us. We need to make sure, and as I mentioned to you, Pechanga means the place where water drips. So our people want to come home. We want to be able to make sure that they have water to live. They were forcibly removed from their own homes, and now they want to come back home. It is so good to see so many tribal members coming back, learning about their community, their culture, their language. So we have to make sure that water is there to sustain future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your comments, the testimony that you provided, the answers that you shared. As other colleagues have additional questions, we will keep the record open for the next 2 weeks. But I do appreciate the information that's been laid down today. But I do think this is kind of a kick to all of us to say, all right, what is the a more workable approach? And whether it's the initial feasibility studies and getting greater fidelity to numbers earlier up front, looking at the mandatory aspect versus discretionary. I didn't really want to pin you down on what you think about custom user fees because, it's just one example of what a pay-for could be. But I think Senator Lujan threw out there a very fair thing to think about. These are obligations. These are liabilities that the government owes. And so when we take a liability off the table, isn't that then a benefit? And so how we look at these things matters. But that's why I think it is very important that we also not lose sight of the human side of why it's important that we resolve these settlement issues, because we can get caught up pretty easily in the weeds and forget the primary purpose, which is to ensure, as you say, Councilwoman, water is life, and how we're able to equitably balance and allocate that is a challenge that you all are dealing with, and we're right there with you. So with that, the committee stands adjourned. Thank you.